There is one thing that we all have in common in this modern world that we live in, and it is this constant need to chase for something more. It could be a dream, a goal, or a vision of success, and we pour all of our time and energy into it, hoping that it will be the key to our happiness. But what if, in trying to achieve what we want, we are losing something even more important, something that could cost us everything? We live in a world that constantly pushes us to improve and achieve more. More health, more connections, more success, or even more recognition. And we think that if we just excel in one area that we want, everything else will come together. Unfortunately, life is never that simple. When you pour all of your energy into one area of life, whether it's your career, your relationships, or maybe self-improvement, it often comes at the cost of something else that you aren't taking care of. And this isn't just about where we set our priorities and how we manage our time. It's a dilemma that goes much deeper than that. It is a struggle for balance. A struggle that has been echoed throughout history in different philosophies and across many cultures, each reminding us that living out of balance brings chaos, stress, and ultimately unhappiness. For thousands of years, humanity have been trying to find the key to having fulfillment in life. And balance has always been at the center to all the different endeavors. Philosophies across the world repeatedly point to balance as the foundation for achieving peace and contentment. Taoism, for example, is one of the oldest philosophies out there, going all the way back to ancient China. The core idea of Taoism is to live in harmony with the Tao, or the way, going with the flow of life. You have probably seen the symbol of the yin and yang before, which is all about the balance between opposites in life. Light and darkness, order and chaos. Taoism is basically telling us if you are living at one extreme or the other, your life is going to be off balance, and you need to find the middle ground. Around the same time in ancient Greece, Aristotle was thinking about similar ideas, as he came up with the concept of the golden mean. Aristotle believed that every virtue in life lies in the middle point between too little or too much of something, and that we should always aim for the right amount in each situation. Around the 6th century, Buddhism had also emerged in India and had a central concept called the middle way, which is the path of avoiding both overindulgence in pleasures and extreme self-denial. The Buddha taught that going to extremes in life inevitably lead to suffering, and that true inner peace is found by walking the middle path. And finally, we have Lagom, which is a concept from Sweden that is less ancient but still just as relevant. Lagom has long been part of the Swedish culture, and it is a reminder that moderation is key, that satisfaction is found not in excess but in sufficiency. All of these philosophies and many others come from different cultures and time periods, but they all point to the same thing. Balance is essential for having a meaningful life. Despite all the knowledge and wisdom that we have accumulated throughout history from so many different cultures, most of us still struggle to live a balanced life. And the reason we struggle isn't just because of bad time management or that we lack self-discipline. It is a condition that is deeply rooted in our human psychology. One of the biggest barriers we face is something called the black and white thinking, which is a cognitive bias that simplifies our life experiences into extremes. Instead of seeing the complexities in situations, we tend to think in absolutes. You're either lazy or productive, a success or a failure. This binary type of thinking is much easier for our brains to handle. But life is not black and white. Reality tends to exist in the gray areas in between, which is where true balance lies. And it is actually very challenging to live in these gray areas of life because they require a lot of attention, self-awareness, and mindfulness, which tend to take a lot of effort. Another important reason why we struggle with balance is our obsession with perfectionism. When we set a certain goal in life and focus too much on it, it is very common to get stuck in tunnel vision, fixating on that goal and thinking that achieving it will fix everything else. But in doing so, we actually end up neglecting other important parts of our life. This tunnel vision leads us to extremes, pulling us away from balance and leaving us disconnected from what truly matters. When I look back at my life, I can clearly see my constant struggle for balance. Before I started to work on myself, I was on the deep end of laziness. I was chasing comfort and indulging in instant pleasures like smoking weed, watching pornography, and playing video games. I was avoiding hard work at all costs, and this hedonistic lifestyle eventually caught up with me. The wake-up call came to me during the COVID lockdown as I realized that I needed to change my life and threw myself into productivity. I started working out, reading books, and cutting bad habits out of my life. But eventually I found myself at the other deep end. I became so focused on discipline and self-improvement that I lost all sense of fun and connection. My social life vanished, and I was terrified that if I allowed myself to relax, I would slip back into my old ways. It took me years to realize that my biggest challenge wasn't productivity nor laziness. It was that for my whole life, I was constantly swinging from one extreme to the next. I was either all in or completely checked out. And that struggle continues to haunt me to this day. When we push anything to the extreme, we will end up draining ourselves. Whether the thing that we are doing is healthy or unhealthy does not matter. Any extreme type of behavior eventually leads to burnout and dissatisfaction. You can't pour all of your energy into one part of your life without the rest of it paying the price. Your career might take off, but your relationships can start to fade. Or you might get in the best physical shape of your life, but your mental well-being may suffer. Spending our lives at either end of any spectrum is going to make us feel disconnected from ourselves. And that disconnection is what leads to stress, anxiety, or even depression, as we continuously fail to meet the unrealistic expectations we set for ourselves. Extremes, whether they stem from perfectionism or our cognitive biases, are like traps. They lure us in with the promise of improvement and results, but in the end, they backfire, leaving us worse off, depleted, and stuck in a cycle of diminishing returns. I truly believe that without balance, we can't have a peaceful and joyful life. And finding balance doesn't mean that you have to split your time across all areas of life. That's not even possible. It's about knowing when and where to shift your focus. It's about making small, meaningful adjustments and realizing that life is this continuous flow and dance between all the different parts of our lives. Finding balance has to begin with self-awareness. You need to take a moment to step back and really look at your life. Ask yourself, where are you overcommitting? Where are you neglecting things? And most importantly, why? You can't find balance without understanding where things are out of alignment. Once you have figured that out, you can start to make small changes. Try to set some boundaries where you have been overextending yourself and start giving more time to the areas that you've been overlooking. It's important to remember throughout the journey that balance isn't about getting things perfect. It's about these small gradual improvements that would bring things back into alignment. The yin and yang concept is a perfect metaphor for this. Instead of swinging from one extreme to the next, the key is to flow between the different parts of life, staying centered as you do it. Balance is about knowing how to shift your focus without going too far in one direction. And the Swedes have known this for a long time with their legume concept of moderation. Even good things like productivity and self-improvement can become a liability if taken too far. Finding balance means recognizing when to stop. Balance isn't something that you achieve once and forget about. It is a constant process. Life will always try to pull you in different directions, whether it's work, personal goals, or just outside pressures. Even when I thought I had things under control, life would always throw something new at me that pushed me to one extreme or the other. So it is crucial to stay mindful and to regularly check in with yourself so you can adjust before things spiral out of control. The real challenge is knowing where to put your energy and how to maintain that balance over time. The more you are aware of where your energy is going, the easier it is to live a life that is not just productive, but also sustainable and fulfilling.